These are the ones who summoned them. These are the ones who bound them, bargained with them, and claimed control over them. This is Pantheon mythology, and these are demon masters from mythology, history, and folklore. If you too want to claim control, check out Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand inspired by myths, folklore, and legends. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. Link in the description. Solomon, the son of David and the king of Israel, is one of the most influential figures in Abrahamic tradition. While the Bible praises his wisdom and the construction of the first temple, later mystical texts would reshape his image into that of a sorcerer king with command over demons. According to the Testament of Solomon, a magical text written centuries after his reign, Solomon received a ring from the archangel Michael engraved with a divine seal. This ring gave him authority over 72 demons, allowing him to summon them, question them, and force them into labor. Each demon revealed its name, its powers, the damage it inflicted upon humanity, and the angel that could subdue it. One of the most well-known accounts describes how Solomon bound the demon Asmodeus, who had disrupted the temple's construction. With the ring, Solomon brought him under control and made him work alongside the others to complete the temple. He continued this process with the rest of the demons, compelling them to reveal arcane knowledge and serve his will. These encounters were recorded in hidden texts filled with invocations, protective names, and ritual instructions. Solomon's legacy became foundational to the development of Western demonology. The Ars Goetia, part of the Lesser Key of Solomon, directly attributes its contents to his teachings. The Seal of Solomon remains one of the most recognizable symbols in occult tradition, and his name is invoked in countless magical systems. Faustst is one of the most infamous names in the lore of demonic pacts. Originating from German legend and later immortalized in literature, Faust was said to be a scholar who grew disillusioned with the limits of human knowledge. In his pursuit of greater power, he turned to magic and made a pact with a demon named Mephistopheles, offering his soul in exchange for unlimited knowledge, wealth, and worldly pleasure. Rather than commanding demons through divine authority like Solomon, Faust submitted to a contract, willingly binding himself to infernal forces. Mephistopheles became his servant, granting him everything he desired for a set number of years before claiming his soul. The nature of the pact varies across versions. In some, Faust regrets his choices and is dragged to hell, while in others, he finds redemption at the last moment. The most enduring version of the story comes from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, whose Faust presented Mephistopheles not just as a tempter, but as a philosophical force challenging the nature of free will and salvation. Across all interpretations, Faust represents the danger of seeking forbidden power not through ritual or command, but through surrender. His legend influenced countless depictions of demonology in literature, theatre, and occult thinking, defining the archetype of the soul-selling magician. John Dee and Edward Kelly are two of the most controversial occult figures of the Renaissance. Dee was a mathematician, astrologer, and trusted advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, obsessed with uncovering hidden knowledge through science, mysticism, and ancient texts. Kelly, an alchemist and scryer, claimed he could speak with spiritual entities through a crystal ball. Together, they believed they were in contact with angelic beings, though others suspected something far more dangerous. They created what would become known as Ininoian Magic, based on a channeled language and a series of detailed rituals and symbols. Kelly acted as the medium, receiving messages in trance, while Dee meticulously recorded everything. The teachings grew stranger with time, shifting from abstract messages to specific demands and rituals that bordered on spirit summoning. Some believed they had crossed a line, and that whatever they were speaking to may not have been angels at all. The most infamous moment in their work came when the entities they contacted instructed them to share their wives, a demand that fractured their partnership and cast doubt on everything they had received. Kelly died in prison after years of failed alchemical pursuits, and Dee spent his final days isolated and discredited. But their influence endured. Ininoian magic was later adopted by secret societies and occult movements, including the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the teachings of Alistister Crowley. Whether they unlocked forbidden wisdom or were deceived by something else entirely, Dee and Kelly helped shape the modern concept of communicating with spirits and the risks that come with it. The magicians of the Grimoires remain nameless, but their influence is unmistakable. These were the practitioners who followed the written rituals of books like the Ars Goetia, the Grand Grimoire, and the Book of Abramelin, texts that claim to contain precise instructions for summoning and commanding demons. Unlike biblical figures or legendary scholars, these rituals are known only through the manuals they left behind. Their methods were detailed and uncompromising. The magician would prepare through days of purification, fasting, and prayer before casting a magic circle and invoking powerful names. Demons such as Baal, Paimon, and Asmodeus were summoned using sigils, offerings, and carefully timed words, not out of desperation, but with calculated purpose. The goal was control, not worship. These books didn't just name demons, they catalogued them. Their ranks, functions, and appearances and weaknesses were laid out as if they were soldiers in a vast infernal hierarchy. The magician stood in the center of the circle, invoking celestial authority to bind and question the spirit, demanding treasures, knowledge, or obedience. These grimoires became some of the most influential texts in Western occultism. Though banned and condemned by religious authorities, they were copied and circulated in secret for centuries. Their structure shaped how later occult societies approached ritual magic, and their imagery still appears in pop culture and ceremonial magic to this day. Their names might change, but the methods remain, and it was the grimoires that turned summoning demons into a system. Cyprien of Antioch was once a sorcerer, deeply versed in spells, invocations, and the conjuration of spirits. According to legend, he was a priest of dark forces, trained in the occult from a young age, and said to have commanded demons with ease. He's most famously associated with the tale of a Christian maiden named Justina, whom he attempted to corrupt through magic at the request of a pagan suitor. Cyprien is said to have summoned demon after demon, ordering them to break her will and stir desire within her. Each one failed. Frustrated and increasingly fearful, Cyprien demanded to know why his powers had no effect. The demons told him she was protected by the sign of the cross. That was the moment he broke, abandoning his sorcery and converting to Christianity, renouncing the very spirits he once controlled. Though venerated as a saint and martyr, Cyprien's story didn't end with his conversion. A series of grimoires, especially in Iberian and South American traditions, bear his name, most famously the Book of Saint Cyprien. These texts are filled with spells, rituals, and protections against evil, many of which draw directly from his supposed dealings with demons. King Manasseh ruled the kingdom of Judah in the 7th century BCE and is remembered as one of the most condemned figures in the Hebrew Bible. Unlike Solomon, who built a temple to house the presence of God, Manasseh was accused of defiling it, turning to sorcery, astrology, and necromancy. The Book of 2 Kings claimed he practiced witchcraft, consulting mediums and spirits, and even sacrificed his own son in fire. These weren't vague accusations. He is said to have erected altars to foreign gods within the temple itself, filling the sacred space with symbols of rival deities and infernal rites. The chroniclers describe him as leading the people into greater wickedness than the nations they had once driven out. Some later traditions claimed he had access to magical texts and summoned spirits as part of his personal rituals. According to apocryphal texts, like the prayer of Manasseh, he repented, praying for forgiveness and casting aside his former practices. But his legacy had already been sealed. In the eyes of his people, he had crossed a boundary no king ever should. Simon Magus appears in early Christian writings as a sorcerer from Samaria who openly challenged the authority of the apostles. His name means Simon the Magician, and he was said to perform wonders that dazzled the people so much so that many believed he was divine. But beneath the spectacle was a darker reputation. Church fathers accused him of working through demonic power. According to the book of Acts, Simon tried to buy the ability to grant the Holy Spirit from the apostles, an act so scandalous it gave rise to the term simony, the selling of sacred things. But outside Scripture, his legend grew more extreme. Later texts claim Simon could fly through the air, command spirits, and change form at will. He is said to have built a following through illusions and demonic forces, claiming godhood and even creating a cult around a woman he called his divine consort. One popular tradition claims that Simon ascended into the air during a confrontation in Rome, only to be struck down by the prayers of Peter and Paul. His body crashed to the ground, and with it, his influence. Whether fact or legend, the story framed him as the first great heretic, a man who turned to spirits not for salvation, but for spectacle and power. Maria Renata Singer was a Bavarian nun whose name became synonymous with demonic possession, hysteria, and witchcraft in the 18th century. Born into nobility in 1680, she joined the convent at Untersel near Würzburg and eventually rose to the position of sub-prioress. But in 1749, at the age of 69, she was accused of being at the centre of a wave of unexplained fits, hallucinations, and apparent possessions sweeping through the convent. The nuns began exhibiting extreme behaviour, speaking in unknown languages, convulsing, screaming, and claiming visions of the devil. All of it was blamed on Maria. Under intense pressure, she confessed to a long list of crimes, making a pact with Satan, practicing black magic, and poisoning fellow nuns. She claimed to have been seeing the devil for over 50 years, using demonic forces to manipulate and torment others within the convent walls. Her confession, likely extracted under duress, led to her execution. She was beheaded and her body burned, one of the last people in Europe to be executed for witchcraft. Her death marked the end of an era, but the case left deep scars. Some viewed her as a malevolent sorceress who hid behind a religious facade. Others saw her as a scapegoat for mass hysteria and religious paranoia. Elena Blavadski was a Russian mystic, author, and co-founder of the Theosophical Society in the late 19th century. To her followers, she was a spiritual pioneer who claimed access to ancient wisdom and hidden masters. To her critics, she was a fraud, a plagiarist, and, possibly worse, a woman dabbling with forces she didn't fully understand. What makes her story relevant here is the nature of the entities she claimed to communicate with. Blavatsky described receiving teachings from ascended masters, powerful non-physical beings who guided her from behind the veil. She said they were neither angels nor demons, but highly evolved adepts. Yet some of their traits and the rituals involved in contacting them bore uncanny similarities to older traditions of spirit summoning. Her writings in The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled referenced a wide range of mystical systems, from Kabbalah to Hinduism to occultism, blending them into a vast cosmology that included beings capable of manipulating fate, matter, and human minds. The Theosophical Society became a magnet for those seeking spiritual knowledge outside orthodox religion, but many within the Christian and occult communities alike viewed her masters with suspicion, believing these entities to be demons masquerading as enlightened beings. Even Alistister Crowley, no stranger to spirit work himself, distanced himself from hers. Shoku was a Japanese Buddhist monk from the 13th century who followed the Pure Land tradition, but with a twist that set him apart from his contemporaries. He wasn't just a devout practitioner, he was a ritualist, deeply engaged with esoteric practices that blurred the line between Buddhist devotion and demon summoning. While Pure Land Buddhism focused on reciting the name of Amida Buddha to retain rebirth in the Western paradise, Shoku also engaged with tantric-style invocations and exorcisms, practices more commonly associated with esoteric sects. He was known for performing intense rituals aimed at defeating demonic forces. These included chants, mudras, and visualizations that mirrored the structure of traditional Buddhist rites, but with added elements of control and coercion. According to some accounts, he didn't simply banish spirits, he compelled them. One tale claims he subdued a powerful demon that had possessed a monk by invoking not only the Buddha, but wrathful deities and protective spirits, forcing the entity to speak and reveal its nature before driving it out. Shoku's method stirred controversy even in his time. Some saw his practices as dangerously close to the forbidden arts, but his fusion of Pure Land devotion and esoteric ritual left a lasting imprint, especially on the intersection of Buddhism and folk religion in Japan, where monks, demons, and sacred power often shared the same ritual space. Pizuzu's priests operated in ancient Mesopotamia, especially during the Neo-Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian periods. Though Pizuzu was a fearsome demon known as a king of wind and spirits and bringer of disease, he was called upon to banish even darker forces. Chief among these was Lamashtu, a malevolent entity who targeted pregnant women and newborns. Ritual specialists summoned Pizuzu using engraved amulets, incantations, and protective placements. Amulets were buried under doorways, hung near beds, or worn as talismans. The goal was direct: unleash Pizuzu's fury against Lamashtu. Ritual texts describe him as being invoked with precise language, positioning him as a hunter of spirits, his image acting as both a shield and a weapon. These priests didn't seek to control Pizuzu, as one might with other demons, but rather to channel his destructive power towards a specific threat. It was one of the earliest examples of demon summoning, not for power or wealth, but for targeted protection through dark alliances. The Nine Unknown Men are said to be an ancient secret society founded by Emperor Ashoka of India in the 3rd century BCE. After witnessing the horrors of the Kalinga War, Ashoka embraced non-violence and supposedly created a group to protect powerful knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Each of the 9 was entrusted with a specific book, containing advanced knowledge of subjects ranging from propaganda and microbiology to time travel and, most intriguingly, communication with otherworldly beings. While the group's existence has never been confirmed, legends claim that one of these 9 books contained detailed instructions for summoning and controlling spirits. These texts were said to be so dangerous that their very language could cause madness if misused. Rather than invoking demons for personal gain, the 9 unknown men are believed to have safeguarded these rituals, ensuring they were never used to destabilize society or unleash chaos. The idea resurfaced in modern occult circles and conspiracy theories, with some suggesting the group still exists today, hidden within global institutions. Alistister Crowley, born in 1875 in England, is one of the most infamous figures in modern occult history. A poet, mountaineer, and ceremonial magician, Crowley styled himself as the Great Beast 666 and founded the religious philosophy known as Thelema. He believed he had been chosen to usher in a new spiritual age and sought power through contact with otherworldly entities. His approach was not one of passive worship, but of command, drawing upon ancient grimoires, Ininoian magic, and his own system to summon spirits and demons alike. Crowley claimed that in 1904 he was contacted by a being named Aiwas, who dictated to him the Book of the Law, the foundational text of Thelema. He also performed rituals from the Goetia, seeking to evoke and control demons listed within the text, following in the footsteps of Solomon and the magicians of the Grimoires. He experimented with scrying, invocation, and astral projection, sometimes alone, and sometimes with initiates of secret societies he joined or founded, such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and his own group, the AA. His influence is impossible to ignore. Crowley's blend of ancient demonology and modern ritual reshaped the face of occultism in the 20th century. He became a lightning rod for controversy, reviled by the press, admired by esoteric societies, and mythologized after his death. Whether prophet or charlatan, Crowley dared to treat demon summoning not as legend, but as practice, and in doing so, brought the forbidden closer than it had ever been before. They dared to master the darkness, and the darkness remembered. For every chain they forged, every whisper they commanded, something lingered. A price exacted not in coin, but in the creeping dread that humanity's reach might one day exceed its grasp. The veil between worlds is thinner than you think.